Hello everyone, my name is Brian Bourgeois and welcome back to my channel. Tonight on this night we're going to be talking about the Echo Park Automotive Grand Prix held at the Circuit of the Americas. This race was, in my opinion, a good race until the very end, until overtime into the picture. But it was still, in my opinion, a good race. We had a lot of different drivers, a lot of parity, including road course ringers such as Jenson Button, Kimi Räikkönen, and Jordan Taylor, all designed to get their shot in NASCAR. Räikkönen is second star NASCAR in the Cup Series. Jenson Button and Jordan Taylor, their first. But again, let's talk about the race. The race was a good race. Had a clean start, as you can see here. This was the start of the race. Oh, a lot of beautiful cars. It was a great race. It was a good race. The race was, I believe, around 60-some laps. At the first, let's say 50. The first 50-ish laps were fantastic. Great racing with the brand new road course package that NASCAR has introduced this year, which features a lower spoiler, less underbody that removes all parts that has downforce for the cars, and the lower half, the strakes. And to be honest, as a racing event, it most certainly passed the eye test for me. It was really fun. I saw practice and qualifying. The drivers were struggling. They were loose, slipping and sliding, and it translates to the race, which produced really good racing, to be honest. A whole lot of slipping and sliding, whole lot of fun racing, lots of side-by-side battles between Tyler Reddick, Austin Cindric, William Byron. It was a great race. It was very fun for the first 50-ish laps. But at the end, it got a little bit hectic, to say the least. But again, in general, it was a fun race, really enjoyable. As for the road course ringers, as I already mentioned, we have a lot of drivers such as Jenson Button, Kimi Räikkönen, and Jordan Taylor, along with Jimmy Johnson and Connor Daly, also designed to take their shot at Circuit of the Americas. And to be fair, they did good. Jenson Button finished inside the top 20 in his first Cup, started pretty good. Finished 18th. He will be also doing races at Chicago, the Chicago road course, and Charlotte Roval, I believe. So, it won't be the last time we'll see Jenson Button this year. Kimi Räikkönen, he was running well. I believe at like the second overtime attempt, he was running in the top 5. Or I believe it was the first overtime attempt. It was one of the two that Kimi Räikkönen was up there, top 5. Maybe had a shot to win, maybe. Or maybe not. Again, he doesn't have as much experience in the Cup car up front. He has plenty of experience up front. So, obviously, he was going to be there. But, fortunately, he got involved in some incidents late in overtime and dropped him to below the top 20. I believe 24th he finished. As for the other drivers, Jordan Taylor finished 24th, actually. So, Räikkönen finished on around, I believe, 27th. Connor Daly, unfortunately, had to retire during the race. The money team liability, unfortunately, striking the money team driver again. And Jimmy Johnson, unfortunately, got involved in a lap 1 incident where Brad Keselowski, and around the penultimate corner of Circuit of the Americas, bottomed out, car got loose and spun out and caused a multi-car pileup, including drivers such as Jimmy Johnson, Ty Dillon, his teammate Chris Buescher, and other cars, which unfortunately took out Jimmy. Unfortunately, it was a tough break. Tough break for Jimmy. But for the rest of the road course ringers, I'd say they did good. Räikkönen did good. Taylor did good. Button did good. They did really nice. It was a fair showing for all those guys. A very fair showing. As for, once again, the racing with the road course package, my opinion about the new road course package is most certainly, I believe, it's a really good feature. It's a really good package NASCAR's added to the road courses, because now these cars are going to require more talent. You're going to need to really drive the cars more now compared to before. The cars are loose. The cars can get really loose. It can struggle. The drivers struggled a lot. You saw, including the road course drivers like Tyler Reddick, AJ Allmendinger, struggle a bit at times with their cars, very loose, fighting them. But they kept it under control. And one of their very good road course drivers, Reddick, Allmendinger, including such underrated drivers such as Alex Bowman, Chris Buescher, William Byron, Christopher Bell, those guys. They're underrated road courses. But yeah, They all do pretty good. They all do a good job. But as for the ending, I'm Circuit of the Americas. I already talked about the racing, the first 50 laps. It was great racing. Drivers had to struggle, slipping and sliding. Great side-by-side racing between Reddick, Cindric, Byron. Lots of good racing. But at the end, it's where it got hectic. I believe caution came out with about 10 laps to go due to Brad Keselowski. I believe it was reported he had a broken axle, and the car had forced him to stop after the S's of Circuit of the Americas. And unfortunately, cost a lot of cautions. That was the first caution. And as Kyle Busch said, one caution brings a whole slew of cautions. And unfortunately, at the end of the race, had a lot of cautions. You had a lot of drivers getting overly aggressive, in my opinion, to finish the race. Chase Briscoe, Ross Chastain, Alex Bowman, Kevin Harvick, plenty of drivers that were extremely aggressive late in the final stages of Circuit of the Americas and the restarts. Caused lots of pileups, lots of crashed cars. Featuring, let's see, Christopher Bell had a lot of damage. Eric Almirola, Kimi Räikkönen, some of the Hendrick cars, I believe. Taylor, I believe, had a lot of damage, or some. But yeah, plenty of drivers were involved in incidents. Ross Chastain, A.J. Allmendinger, two favorites heading into COTA, but unfortunately, they got involved in incidents and, well, lost stuff, destroyed cars. And it hurts the owners too. They have to spend more money on that, so it's an unfortunate take. But again, in my opinion, it's been a problem now that road courses here in NASCAR, especially late, everyone, just in my opinion, goes overboard, to say the least. There's a whole lot being banging. There's little to no respect. Everyone just bashes each other away. It's rare to see respect now in road courses when it gets late. Everyone's bumping each other the way, whole lot being and banging. And I mean, I believe today NASCAR CEO Elton Sawyer had said that's been the way sport's been for more than 14 years of aggressive driving. And I mean, to an extent. Yes, there's aggressive driving, where there's the bump and run, getting a guy loose, all that. But I feel like one thing's doing that, and another thing is what we saw at the end of COTA, where everyone's just bashing each other out of the way, no respect at all. We did see some respect at the front of the field. I believe in the last overtime restart, great side-by-side racing between Tyler Reddick and Kyle Busch. They were racing each other hard, fair, hard racing, side-by-side, going through the S's. It was nice. It was clean racing, but towards the back, it was hectic. A lot of people bashing each other away. Chastain, Briscoe, Bowman, those were, in my opinion, the primary guys. You got other drivers that I believe Denny Hamlin mentioned in his podcast of Action to Detriment. I believe Harvick was another one of them. Mentioned Harvick, Briscoe. Cindric, I believe, also mentioned. Bowman, Chastain twice. It was hectic. Those guys were really whole hobby and banging between them. But yeah, those were talking about the incidents. They had to go to 3 overtimes, which I believe made this one of the longest races of the season. So I clocked at like 3.5 hours. So yeah, definitely I feel like longer than it should have been. But yeah, you really can't do much. But now another opinion and a thought about what I loved about this race now. It was a natural race. No stages. Heading into Circuit of the Americas, there wasn't going to be no stage breaks, no stage cautions. It was going to be, you finish stage 1, the race continues. And it felt like the NASCAR races of back then, where there was no stages. You had to go the whole way. You had strategy, tires, fuel strategy. It was, in my opinion, perfect. It was really, really good to see fuel strategy and tire strategy come into play again in a NASCAR road course. It felt really good. It felt really interesting to see who had the best strategies. You had guys like, I believe, Joe Logano, who stayed out late to see if, you could get the freshest tires, maybe wait for a caution. You had Kyle Busch, who pitted before the first caution when we were about to end the race with 10-ish laps to go. And that strategy turned out great. Spoiler, he would finish second place thanks to that strategy. And that's what I like, the strategies. You got a lot of different strategies, a lot of drivers with their crews thinking about which is the better strategy. Will this strategy work? Will the other strategy work? It's a whole. It gets you thinking. It gets you like into the race more. And in my opinion, that was a huge plus. So again, if you ask me, I would like more stage cautions for the rest of the year. I'd like to see how this would go for the ovals. I'd love to see how this would go. Road courses again. Next road course I believe is Sonoma coming soon, so it'll be interesting to see how that race unfolds without stage cautions. But yeah, it was really, really nice. And back to the fuel strategy. We had a fuel mileage finish before the Brad Keselowski DNF that caused the caution. It was beautiful. You had Tyler Reddick, William Byron, Daniel Suarez, Alex Bowman, and Ross Chastain. You had 5 cars fighting for the race win with under 20 laps to go at COTA. It was great. It was great racing. The drivers were struggling. The cars were slipping and sliding. You had great battles. You had a little bit bumping and running between the teammates, Team Trackhouse teammates, Daniel Suarez and Ross Chastain. You had to wonder if does Chastain have more fuel than the others. You wondered if Alex Bowman was saving. You wondered if Byron and Reddick had enough to get to the end. You wonder if Reddick had enough to get to the end, considering he's the race leader. He's the one that has to be pushing the most out of the other drivers to hold on to the lead. And that's the intrigue, that fuel strategy, the fuel mileage intrigue, that it gets you excited. It gets you really excited to see how the race is going to unfold, who's going to win. I really think that if the race went green the whole way, Ross Chastain wins it, because I believe Chastain had more fuel than the rest of the drivers, although I believe Bowman was also saving fuel for perhaps a late race charge to go after Chastain, to go after Byron, Reddick, Suarez, all those guys, try and take the fight to Chastain at the end. Again, all of this perhaps could have happened if that late race caution from Keselowski didn't happen, but unfortunately that incident happened and fuel mileage finish never came to fruition, unfortunately. But yeah, hopefully maybe this year we can get some like that again. Maybe at the Glen, maybe at Sonoma, maybe at the new Chicago Street Course. Who knows? Maybe at the Charlotte Oval. But again, who knows? But yeah, before that incident, the racing was top notch in my opinion. It was really fun. But yeah, certain things happened and it never came to fruition. But again, 2 main cars, in my opinion, well, the main cars of the race were Tyler Reddick, William Byron, Austin Cindric, Suarez, Chastain, Bowman. Those guys were the key drivers, although Tyler Reddick had the best car that race. He was extremely fast. He was fast in practice. He was fast in qualifying. He was fast in the race. I mean, he was definitely the car everyone was chasing after. But, I mean, at the end, with 20 laps to go, this was a great battle. William Byron, Tyler Reddick, these two had an electric battle late. It was peak road course racing, side by side through the last sector of Circuit of the Americas. If you watched the race, as did I, you know. It was a great race, it was a lot of fun, and it was awesome. If you guys want to watch the race and the clips, you have a lot of clips posted on a lot of social media, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. All of those pages show the battle between Byron and Reddick around 20 laps to go. It was beautiful. It was great racing. But at the end of the day, after all the dust had settled, after the fuel strategy, after the tire strategy, after wondering is this guy going to make it on fuel, Tyler Reddick, after all the cautions laid, after all the melee, after all the drama, Tyler Reddick would win the Echo Park Automotive Grand Prix, which in my opinion, well deserved. He had the car to beat all day, he was fast, he showed great commitment, bravery, especially with all those 3 overtime attempts. I mean, he toughed it out, he did really good. And again, fair credit to Reddick, he deserved it. He did amazing. He showed up, delivered, and came out on top, which again, credit to Tyler Reddick. He deserves it. It was a great win on his part. As for the results of the race, we have Tyler Reddick in P1. He led 41 laps, I believe the most out of everyone in that race. Again, shows that he had a great race. Kyle Busch second place. Alex Bowman third. Ross Chastain fourth. William Byron fifth. Austin Cindric sixth. To be fair, you had six arguably the best drivers in the race. Yeah, six of a couple others that all had good finishes, which they deserved. So again, credit to everyone. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. finished 7th. Chris Buescher from 32nd on the grid came back to finish 8th, and also came back from the first lap incident to finish in the top 10, 8th place. Great stuff. Ty Gibbs comes home in 9th. Ty Gibbs had, if you look at the finish, you can say, oh, he had a good race. He had 3 penalties. One on pit road for, I believe, too many men over the wall, or pitting outside the box. Yeah, I was pitting outside the box. And 2 drive-thrus due to come to the S's. But despite those 3 penalties, he came back and finished in the top 9, which, good stuff. Todd Gillen from 36 on the grid finished in the top 10. Good stuff from Todd Gillen. He's shown to be a pretty underrated road course racer, so he got the job done, avoided all the chaos, brought home for a top 10 in the red Busch Ford for Front Row Motorsports. Good stuff, very good stuff. Corey LaJoie, from 27th on the grid, 11th. LaJoie, I don't know. It's been really cool to see how good LaJoie's been this year. He's been pretty consistent. I mean, in Atlanta, and yeah, in Atlanta. I'm gonna call it super speedway, which is technically super speedway. It's like intermediate super speedway-ish racetrack. Now he brought on P4. Now Circuit of the Americas, P11. Very good stuff for LaJoie. Michael McDowell 12th, Kevin Harvick 13th, Kyle Larson 14th. Honestly, Kyle Larson, he was involved in a couple incidents. One of the incidents I haven't mentioned was Bubba Wallace heading into the hard left-hander after the long back straight. Lost the brakes and got into both Larson, I believe Eric Jones as well. Larson had a lot of damage, and then when he was entering pit road, I don't know if to get next to Bubba to show his frustration, got turned, bumped from behind by Denny Hamlin, causing him to spin, bringing out a caution. Despite all of the mayhem there, he still brought home the finish inside the top 15, 14th. Solid comeback. Chase Briscoe 15th, Denny Hamlin 16th, Mark Truex Jr. 17th, Jenson Button, one of the road course ringers, brings it on 18th. Justin Haley 19th, Noah Gragson 20th, Ryan Blaney 21st, Harrison Burton 2nd, Eric Jones 23rd, another road course ringer, Jordan Taylor. Despite a good qualifying, unfortunately, 24th, never really showed the same pace as Byron and Bowman. So, yeah, it was unfortunately like mid, top 10, top 15. The 20 round up. Unfortunately, he got involved in some incidents, and 24th was his finishing result. Cody Ware finished 25th, Josh Wilkie 26th, Daniel Suarez, who I will mention maybe in a bit of hot water with NASCAR, because after the race, Daniel Suarez wanted to confront both his teammate, Ross Chastain, and Alex Bowman after the overtime incidents, where Suarez unfortunately got screwed, basically. Got wrecked by Bowman, who was being pushed by Chastain, and yeah, he unfortunately brought home the finish 27th. But after the race, cooldown lap, he wanted to go after Chastain and Bowman. Heading into the pit road, Suarez would basically move his teammate Ross Chastain out of the way and start bumping big time into the back of Alex Bowman, giving him like 2 big bumps until Bowman decided to stop the car and basically wondered, what the heck is this guy doing? And they had a little post-race discussion though, until Bowman basically pointed to Chastain. I assume Bowman making his point that, hey, I didn't do it, I was being pushed by Ross Chastain. So, yeah, then after that, Suarez went to talk with his teammate, Ross Chastain. And yeah, they exchanged words. Definitely not what team owner Justin Marks wants to see. Both of his teammates not happy with each other. But I mean, as for Suarez, can you blame him? He had a good race before the Keselowski incident, then overtime, then got involved in an incident that brought him all the way down to the back end of the grid. And yeah, it ruined his race. But yeah, those incidents could come at a cost for Daniel Suarez. He could be given a hefty fine, or maybe points deduction, or worse, a suspension, because there was also a lot of people in the pits. There was an official. The worst thing that could have happened is that Suarez bumps Bowman to the left, and Bowman hits the official, which, big no-no. So, yeah, Suarez is going to be, more likely the penalties will be issued tomorrow, so we'll see what is announced. But yeah, as for that, tough break for Daniel, and well, sadly post-race he may have put himself in even more hot water, so yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what the penalties are. Joey Logano, 28th, involved in late race incidents. Kimi Räikkönen, 29th. He would come home again. He got involved in lots of incidents late overtime, so yeah, very tough break. Then you got Eric Armillo at 30th. Christopher Bell brings home in 31st. Again, involved in late race incidents. He was involved in the last overtime incident. So, and he had a lot of front end damage. So, that was basically in the race for him. Ryan Preece, 32nd. Ryan Preece also showed massive displeasure at the field of everyone, I believe, after the race at COTA, or actually when he got out of the car. After, I believe it was the second overtime, that caution had to come out because there was a whole lot of debris, a whole lot of stuff. And he went on to Twitter to call basically the whole field, and well, maybe not the whole field, but showing his displeasure by saying, "What a bunch of hacks." Clearly, Priest was not happy at all. And I mean, could you really blame him? It was really rough at the end. It was rough. Then you got Austin Dillon 33rd, A.J. Allmendinger 34th, as I already mentioned. Late race incidents, costing him a lot. Brett Keselowski 35th, Connor Daly 36th. Bubba Wallace lost the brakes, as I mentioned earlier, 37th. Jimmy Johnson 38th, and final in last place, Ty Dillon. So yeah, to say it was a very wild Circuit of the Americas, but for the right reasons and the wrong reasons. The right reasons, it was natural race, lots of fun, the strategies for fuel, tires, the battles, which had great racing between, as I mentioned, Reddick, Byron, Cindric, Chastain, Suarez, Allmendinger. It was fun. It was a whole lot of fun to see how everyone was trying to give it to Reddick. Fun battling. But at the end of the day, Monster Energy number 45 Toyota came out on top. But again, maybe there's still plenty of me left to talk about, because again, the race had a lot of stuff, a lot of things to mention, to speak about. But yeah, I mean, also Jenson Button even mentioned in the post-race interview that he enjoyed it a lot, but there were some things that he said that he enjoyed it for 60%. The 40%, which I assume he may have had cons about, was obviously late race, where everyone's ballistic basically at the end. But yeah, I mean, it's suddenly the road course racing late now. As of when it gets late, everyone's barging into each other. It's wild. But again, if it weren't for that caution and Keselowski having that issue, we could have had a great finish. Not to say we didn't have one. It was cool to see Reddick defending versus everybody during multiple overtime restarts. It was cool. It was cool. But yeah, that's all I got for Circuit of the Americas, Echo Park Automotive Grand Prix. A wild race filled with strategies, fun racing, and a fair amount of chaos. And even tempers, as I mentioned, Suarez versus Bowman and Chastain. And yeah, it was a wild race, for sure. But yeah, thank you all for watching my race review of the Echo Park Automotive Grand Prix at Circuit of the Americas. Hope you enjoyed. Like, subscribe for more videos, but a little update, I may not be able to post as much as, well, I'll be traveling in a couple days, as, well, I'm going to be U.S. Navy now, U.S. Navy's future sailor, so unfortunately, I won't be posting as much, so unfortunately it'll be the last video for a while. If I have the opportunity, I'll most certainly post again. But yeah, as for now, thank you all for watching, I hope you enjoy my race review. Like, subscribe for more content, and I will see you all soon.